Here on The Colour of Country Life, we're speaking with Professor Kerry Wilkinson. How are you, Kerry?
Yes, good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, great, thank you. Look, knowing from my own background growing up in wine-growing areas, sometimes smoke taint is a risk with your grapes. The palate can pick this up pretty easily, and the university's developed at least a step in the direction of addressing that.
We have. Yeah, so we've developed this activated carbon fabric, and we've done proof of concept trials that show that if you enclose grape bunches in this fabric, it protects them from smoke. And so the compounds that cause these unpleasant attributes in the finished wine are prevented from getting in there.
Okay, now I'm a bit of a novice here. Activated carbon fabric. Where might we know that concept from elsewhere?
Oh, that's a good question. Activated carbon is an additive that's used in winemaking, sometimes to remove components that we don't like. Essentially, we use it for fining, so it strongly binds particular compounds, and in this case, it has a high affinity for the compounds that are present in smoke that impart these unpleasant sensory properties.
Now, what I picked up from what was shared by the university just recently on this was that you'd have to bag each grape, which theoretically could be something that's done by, I guess, the very high premium value grape growing, but it's something that you'd have to consider another way of doing if you wanted to get it more broad scale protecting the grapes.
Absolutely. So we're not suggesting that people need to go out and individually bag every single bunch of grapes in their vineyard. Obviously, that's going to be prohibitively expensive. That was just really our proof of concept to show that the technology works. And so now moving forward, the idea is that we find a more functionalised way of applying this fabric in a vineyard that actually works on an economical scale.
So you're talking about, I guess we're familiar with seeing some sort of netting or shading on vines. Is it something along that line that covers some of the more of the vine than just the grape bunches?
That's correct. So in follow-up trials that we've undertaken this year, we've been looking at applying the fabric just to the fruit zone of the grapevine. So where the fruit sits, we can apply the fabric on either side. It still allows lots of the vine access to the light, so it can still photosynthesize. But we're testing whether that approach still prevents that smoke from getting in where the fruit is. And then, moving forward, it may be that we develop something like a bird netting that goes over the top of vines and is able to protect whole rows of vines in one go.
So is it possible that if it was that fabric, it may actually have, I guess, secondary benefits aside from the protection from the smoke taint?
Yeah, it's possible that it could be that it provides coverage both for smoke protection, but then also prevents birds or other animals from coming along and eating the fruit as well.
All right. So I guess we saw machine harvesting come along and vines that were designed for that, and we thought that was unthinkable at the time. It's possible. You're saying it's proof of concept. This could be maybe seen more regularly in vineyards in maybe 10 or 20 years' time.
Oh, I'm hoping it's not going to take us 10 or 20 years. I think smoke taint's an ongoing issue for grape and wine producers around the world. I'm really hopeful that this is a right step in the direction to resolving the issue of smoke taint, and that we might see, a functional technology that's out there in coming years.
All right. Well, we'll watch that development closely. And know living in the Barossa Valley as I do, there's a high value on some of those wines and big concerns when there's ever a fire nearby. So hopefully this can be a benefit for the wine industry, not just in South Australia, but around the nation.
And even around the world, yeah.
Professor Kerry Wilkinson, thanks so much for sharing that with us, and we'll monitor that development closely. Thanks again.
Thank you.